Yo, yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome, welcome. Give it a minute for everybody to hop in here. Happy Sunday, everybody. So we're going to go ahead and get started here in just a minute. Pace is just a couple minutes out, and then he's going to be hopping on. Let's see here. So for those of you that may be tuning in to Sunday service for the first time, my name's Cody Barton. My partner Pace Morby is going to be hopping on here in just a minute as well. We're super excited for this Sunday service. We're going to, if some of you have not seen it, Pace and myself on one of our fix and flips got broken into a couple days ago, and so we're going to talk about that and talk about how you handle it, what we're doing, and so you guys can have an idea of what that looks like. So if this is the first time that you're tuning in, just so everybody does know, you can watch Sunday service now on iTunes and Spotify. So if you're driving around in your car, going to work or going from appointments and you're catching up on past Sunday services, you can go on Spotify or iTunes and find us on there and jump on the podcast. So super excited about that. Just got that rolling out over the last month here. So where's everybody tuning in from? Where is everybody at? See, Tulsa, we have Tulsa, North California, Metro Detroit. Medium Wave Dave says, Cody has good Wi-Fi. I mean, the amount of Wi-Fi range extenders that I've put inside of my apartment is ridiculous. So, I mean, if there was any Wi-Fi interruptions, I got nothing else for it, guys. Like I'm maxed out on outlets and Wi-Fi range extenders. See here. So we have Raleigh, Atlanta, Arizona. What's up, Debbie? We have Hawaii, Oregon, Tacoma, Seattle, West Palm Beach, Wisconsin, London, England. That's awesome. Santa Cruz, California, DFW. It's always super awesome to, see where everybody's tuning in from. So I'm going to jump into a little bit on this story of what happened a couple days ago on one of our fix and flips. So there's actually, a rolling joke between, some of the people on our team, and it's, conservative Cody. And they all, a lot of people say that when it comes to fix and flips, rentals, just any of the properties that we're acquiring. And so, the reason why is you can't calculate for the she moments that happen. You can't always account for things that are going to happen. So whenever I'm underwriting a property, I'm always being a little bit conservative. I don't ever speculate. I don't assume rents are going to go up. If it's a rental, I don't assume that the values are going to go up by the time we fix a fix and flip. So I just never account for that, because the thing is, things could go down. There could be unexpected problems that come up during a project. So I just never want to put our team in a position and the lenders that we work with in a position where, we would have an issue on a property. So that's just the way that we do things. Maybe we could probably buy a couple more deals here and there, but at the end of the day, we've never lost money on a fix and flip. And that's, something that we are, proud of, is we don't speculate at all. We make sure that we know that there's concrete numbers there. So Matt Beard says, thank God for conservative Cody. Yeah, man, it's something that you have to watch out for. So here's what happened, guys. So we bought a property from, this was actually one of the door knockers on our team, Ty. Shout out to Ty. He was door knocking and, got a homeowner that was in pre-foreclosure, was ready to go. So we get it under contract, we close on it, pretty light renovation, literally. We only replaced carpet, we did some minor paint touch-ups and kind of cleaned it up. So there's really, there's really not a ton that we had to do to the property. So got it fixed up and we put it on the market, sells within about 10 days. So it sells relatively quickly and we're excited. We're like, perfect. We get into the inspection period where our end buyer, views the property, sees the condition that it's in. And, then we agree to fix some things. It's just minor things that need to be fixed on the property. So we get through the inspection period. The house appraises at, full value. So we're good. We're on track. We're set to close. This upcoming Tuesday is when we're supposed to be closing on this property. I've already signed at the title company, like the closing docs and everything are already good to go. I already signed. Everything is good. I signed on Friday. And so Saturday, I'm over at Pace's house and we're recording some content and putting some trainings and things together. And so essentially, we're just recording away and Laura comes, down the hall and she's like, hey guys, 30th just got broken into and it's flooding. And we're like, what? The neighbor called Laura, says, hey, the front door of your listing over here on 30th Drive is open and there is water just oozing out of the front door all the way down into the driveway and out the front door. So obviously that's concerning, right? So there's something, wrong. And so we send Anna over there on our project manager. She's our project manager. So Anna, goes over there immediately to see what's going on. And what does she find? Our oven is stolen. The dishwasher is stolen. The microwave is stolen. And originally the neighbor thought maybe a pipe burst. And so it was, just leaking. We've had that happen at other properties of ours. So it's not super uncommon. And so what we found out was the actual, the dishwasher, the water line that's hooked up to the dishwasher, the thieves that stole it just ripped it out and the water line was just left to run. So, it was left to run for probably a day, maybe 2 days inside of the house. So the whole house is filled with water. Baseboards are all destroyed. Carpet needs to be replaced. Some of the cabinets got destroyed. Water just pouring out the front door. So, everything, it's, our total renovation on this property was about $4,000. And so, with that, that's a, really cheap, easy renovation. And I underwrote the deal for us to make, $25,000 originally. And that was, we had a long escrow because the seller had some issues. And so that was what the comps were when we went under contract. So I'm like, perfect. We'll still, we'll make about 25 grand on this deal. And, we get to, putting it on the market, and there was a couple good comps that just recently closed. So we listed it for higher than we expected, which was great. And then we sold it. So we anticipated that we were going to make about $36,000. So $11,000 more than we thought, which was great. We were super stoked about that. We got through the appraisals, like I said, for some of the viewers that just hopped on. We got through inspections. Everything was ready to go. We were set to close this upcoming Tuesday, which, we were super, super excited about. And so basically, someone said connection lost. I was like, are you kidding? It better not be my internet. Irene, that sounds like it's your internet. So back to the story though. So we put the property, we get the property sold, everything. We're getting ready to close in 2 days. And we're like, dope, we're going to make 36 grand on this deal. And what happens is, life happens, right? So me and Pace, we find out this news and, the flooding and everything. So we just send our team, Anna went over there. She got, our foreman, Barton, over there, and he went into, basically assessed all the damage. We're estimating the damage is going to be somewhere between $6,000 to $10,000. The reason we don't fully know yet is because we don't know how bad the water damage was. So that's still being found out. They just had to get air movers and, some things in there to just dry out all of the water as quickly as possible. So that's currently what's going on today. I think they went back there, and tomorrow is going to be a full work day for our guys that they just have to go over there and, fix it. So we plan to spend, $4 grand on this property. And then what happens is, now we're spending an additional $6,000 to $10,000 because we have to replace all the appliances. The buyer that we're, selling it to is expecting all stainless steel appliances in this house. So we got to replace them. And then, to whatever the extent that we have to replace carpet, baseboards, drywall, repaint, all of that, right? So, that's what happens sometimes. That is why I am always conservative when I'm running our numbers, because if it's not a break-in, because we've had this happen before, we've had break-ins happen before, but it's just part of the game. Like rentals we've bought, when houses sit vacant, they become targets. So when your house is sitting vacant, sometimes that's something that can happen. And so in this particular situation, it's just something that came up. It hasn't happened. It's been probably a couple dozen houses since we've had it happen. We've probably happened about 6 months ago, was as recent as it had happened before. We had somebody that broke all the cabinets, destroyed the stove, flooded the kitchen. I don't know what it is about people and flooding, but people just, when they go and steal and break into houses, they just turn on the water and just want to flood it. Does not make sense to me, but that's what people want to do. So, as far as people asking about insurance, we can make an insurance claim. We also close escrow on the property in 2 days. So do we want to extend escrow and go through this whole process and have, wait for an insurance company to do their thing and, go through that whole process? No, we're not going to file a claim. We don't want to wait and hold up everything, with the closing. So we're going to make sure that, we close on Tuesday and, hopefully Tuesday, but, worst case Wednesday, just getting all the repairs done for that buyer. But we're not going to file an insurance claim because that's going to hold up the whole process. We're just going to move forward, take the L on the repairs that we have to do and replacing the appliances in the property and move on to the next deal. You can't throw good money after bad. You got to cut the loss and get out of the deal. If it was more significant, if it was like $25,000, $30,000 in damages, maybe there'd be a further discussion on doing an insurance claim. But Pace, welcome. What's up, man?
What's up, brother? Sorry. We were cooking in the kitchen. We were doing this meal prep thing with people and hanging out and talking about health and all that kind of stuff. Is kind of fun.
Nice, dude. That's awesome. You hitting the gym or what?
Yeah. The challenge was for me, I've been running with Steve Trang for a couple of years. And when COVID hit, I decided, as you remember, I'm going to go travel around the country with my wife and kids. And when I left, I realized that my feet, my ligaments, my knee, so many things with my lower body were like damaged to the point where I decided I didn't want to run anymore. So when I got back home from the trip, I then didn't have an accountability partner. Right. So, Steve still texts me like every couple of weeks. He's like, "Hey, you're going to come running with us." And for me, dude, no, I'm not about it. And then people say, "Well, you can swim." No, like swimming is another thing I got to manage. Like I want to get in, I want to get out, but if I'm swimming,
like you got to, get the goggles, get like the gear. It's like, you got to get the towel, like, it's a whole event.
Yes, that's exactly it. So, Reagan, who runs the Sub 2 community, her boyfriend, Jack, is going to school for holistic medicine. And he's been lifting since he was like 14. So I was like, oh my gosh, they live just down the road. This will be great just to have an accountability partner,
Nice.
So anyway, I decided, I was like, dude, let's do this for other people. Like, let's talk about meal prep and let's talk about, some of these things that a lot of people probably need, especially at this part of this time of the year. Everybody's thinking about health and fitness and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I moved my camera setup into the kitchen so we could do that. And then it took me like freaking 15 minutes to get it set back up in here. I'm so sorry.
Oh, all good. All good.
You told them about the bull crap situation that happened on the house?
Yeah. I was telling them, about what happened, and a lot of people are like, "Why didn't you do an insurance claim?" And so I was just answering that. And the one thing I didn't, a lot of people were saying, "Why don't you get security systems at all the houses that you have?" So, do you want to take that question, because that has came up a lot?
Yeah, so we've done that. Think about it. Let's think about how many houses that Cody and I fix and flip every single month. Okay, so who's the person that asked that? That's really, really.
There's been a lot. There's been a lot of people that have, but Freddie H says, "Did you have a security system?"
Okay, so Scott Barker, will you file an insurance claim? No, we won't. And the reason being is that it takes way too much time, and we're closing escrow in like 2 or 3 days. So, do you think it would be a good idea for us? I mean, if the renovation, the repairs were like 30 or 40 grand, the answer would be yes. But because we understand how to do the renovation for a lot less expensive, we are just getting it done and closing escrow. The most important thing is just getting people paid, right? So you're doing deals, you have acquisition people and you have disposition people and you have partnerships and you have all sorts of people on these deals that we do that they're relying on getting paid as well, right? So if we push it back based on a insurance claim, then that person or multiple people don't end up getting paid. So it doesn't really make sense. And then you really can frustrate people, especially if they're just getting started out. Like the person who got this deal, he got it from knocking doors, and we could have paid him up front, but he would have made less money. So he's making more money because he actually participated in getting paid on the back end. And we don't want to hold him up another 30, 60, 90 days. And that's how long an insurance check and an insurance claim would actually take. So it just doesn't make sense for us to file an insurance claim. Ooh, this is really, really good. Geronimo Panita says, is sub 2 illegal in Florida? I found this last night. I can't pull it up, but I want to type that in. I want to see what it says. No, sub 2 is not illegal anywhere in the country at all. Let's see here. HTTPS. I can't copy and paste this, unfortunately. So sorry. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, Jeremy Harlow says speed equals money, 100%. And yes, it can hurt buyer to qualify for new insurance claim. Premium would go up. There's just not a lot of positives that would happen out of doing an insurance claim. It's unfortunate, but like I was saying at the beginning of this call, that's where you have to factor in an OSH factor on your fix and flips. And sometimes other wholesalers will send us deals and I'll tell them no. And they're like, no, the numbers, everything makes sense. It's like, yeah, if everything perfectly aligns. And I mean, how often, Pace, does everything go exactly perfect on a construction project?
Never.
There's always something. There's always something that comes up. So that's something, for those of you that don't actively fix and flip, you have to keep that in mind. Or, whether you're buying a rental, whatever it is, you have to account for that. There's going to be stuff that comes up that you didn't account for. Matt Beard says, Cody's eating. Yes, I am eating. Hyel brought me back dinner, so I am eating.
So I'm going to read through this real quick. So somebody just asked a question. Let's do a little screen share if I can. This is so dumb.
While you're doing that, Mark's asking, is your OSH factor a percentage of the rehab budget? Not really. I mean, we don't flip house. So this is my answer to that. We don't really flip higher end homes. Like typically our highest ARV on a property is going to be like 350. So usually the OSH type issues that come up are going to be around $5,000, like $5,000 or less generally. So I usually will kind of have like a $5,000 buffer for, the AC randomly magically went out and now, we need to replace an air conditioner, or, there's a weird roof leak, or somebody breaks in and steals your stuff, or, of course, the week before closing, your plumbing decides to leak underneath the property and you have to replace some plumbing. So, yeah. So Matt's saying OSH is the 15 to 20K conservative. Yeah. I mean, I always just factor in, I want to make sure we, making at least 20.
Hey, this is going to make me quit Chrome and reopen. So I'll be right back. I really want to do a screen share on this. This is an interesting conversation. I'll be right back.
Okay. Let's see. Always factor in, Kimberly says, always factor in the oh shit stuff. Yeah, no, this is super, super important to make sure that you're accounting for that.
All right. So let's pull this up. This is an interesting conversation. I've heard of this a couple of times from people. So they're talking about equity skimming. Okay.
Let's
go through this because a lot of people do not understand that wholesalers are equity skimmers. Doesn't mean it's a good or bad thing. Just it is what it is. All right. So here we go, guys. We've got it on the screen. Let me do like a full screen layout of this so you guys can see it. Let's see if we can bigger. Get you guys to see this on the screen. Okay. All right. It is unlawful for any person with intent I've read this before. Let's see this. It is unlawful for any person with intent to defraud the owner of real property to engage in equity skimming. Okay. So this is not about doing a subject to. It does mention subject to here, but it does not mean that equity skimming has anything to do with the sub to. Equity skimming is the problem, not the subject to. Okay. So it is unlawful for any person with intent to defraud the owner of real property to engage in equity skimming, which is, so again, what's illegal? Does it say sub to is illegal? No. Geronimo, it does not say sub to is illegal. It says that equity skimming with the intent to defraud the owner of real property engage in equity skimming, which is to do this. Purchase within a 3-year period 2 or more single family dwellings, 2 family dwellings, blah, 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 that are subject to a loan that is in default at the time or within 1 year of the time of purchase, which loan is secured by a mortgage deed of trust. Then fail to make payments under the mortgage or deed of trust as the payments become due, regardless of whether the purchaser is obligated on the loan. Apply or authorize the application of rents for somebody's personal use. So here's what's happening. Okay, I've read this article multiple times. This has been sent to me multiple times. What happened in Florida, this is just actually really kind of funny story. Not a funny story. It's a horrible story. But here's what happened in Florida not too long ago. There was a guy in Florida a couple of years ago. He actually was learning creative finance from somebody very well known. What he was doing is he was going and buying people subject to mortgages that were in default on their mortgages. They were in foreclosure. And what he was doing is he was taking over their home subject to, and then he was turning around and renting them out. And what was he doing with the money?
Not paying the mortgage.
Right. Wasn't paying the mortgage. He was collecting like 18 or 19 mortgage or rent payments, but not paying any of the mortgages. So he was leveraging the seller's credit to take advantage, right? So it doesn't say sub 2 is illegal. In fact, it actually talks about how you can buy houses subject to. It's just that you can't not perform and you can't defraud a seller. That's essentially what it's saying, is it has nothing to do with subject to. It only has to do with defrauding the seller. But that's I think that's a really good conversation and good thing to pull up. So thank you so much, Geronimo, for pulling it up. Okay. Ramon Batances says, are we finally going to talk about goal setting for 2021? Yes, we are. Let's jump into it in just a minute. We got some people that are on that. I love it.
Yes.
Okay. One thing I do want to talk about is I'm very proud of our team. We ended up getting 6 contracts this week and only 2 of them required an American. The other 4 did not. What are your thoughts on that, bro?
It's pretty great. It's a great week.
Do you have any deal that you have off the top of your head that we can chat about?
I don't know details on any of them. besides the one Apache Junction one.
Let's talk about that. Hold on. I'm going to pull up the goal planner. Okay.
All right. So lead comes in from one of our cold callers. And this one was when an American on our team got it. Cameron, shout out Cameron. Great job. Deal comes in, ARV is about 300,000 on this particular mobile home. And so on this mobile home, the seller was asking for about 240,000. Cameron, did some follow up with them, was going back and forth, got him from 240 down to 220. We needed it at, 210, we'd make money. We'd be able to make money on it at 210. So, we get it down to around 215, 210. And then I think Pace, me and you were on like a phone call or something. We were on a Zoom call and we were just talking about a deal, and you were driving out near Apache Junction. You're like, I'll go to that house. So Pace actually went and met with the seller on the spot, and it was actually in better condition than we expected it to be too.
Yeah, I actually recorded the whole conversation. It was about a 35-minute conversation. What happened is the seller, I pulled up, and the seller says to me, "Oh, I'm so sorry I didn't bring my keys, but don't worry, my family members are going to bring them." And I was like, "Oh, okay, no problem." So his family members come over, and his family members are like upset. And you could like feel weird energy when somebody's, pissed off at you for whatever reason. These people were mad at me, and I had no reason why. I had no understanding why. Turns out they were trying to buy the property at the same time. So they had the keys. Like, they were that possessive about the property. Like, we're going to hold on to the keys for you. Don't worry about it. If you need the keys, you just let us know. We'll stop by. It's like, oh my gosh, these people are like married to this property. They're very, very excited about buying this house. Right. So, really good conversation. I basically was like, yeah, we thought it was a good deal, but now I've come to the property. I'm not sure. I'd like to buy it, but maybe you should just sell it to your family. And I said that right in front of the family, just pushing off, because I didn't want to have him continually try and leverage me for, against his family. So he was like, no, well, when could you close? Like, right in front of the family. I go, well, for us, it takes 3 days. And what's your timeline? Are they going to close faster than that? And I knew the answer was no, they're not going to be able to close. They have to go get a loan. Right. So he's like, well, I think they're going to be closer to 30 or 45 days. And she's like, how the woman who had brought the keys, she says, how are you going to close in 3 days? That's impossible. I go, well, we're not getting a loan. We're just going to buy it with cash. So, it was one of those weird things where buying as a cash buyer actually was the benefit. Most of the time, that's not the benefit.
Most of the time, everyone has cash. Like, there's 19 other people with cash ready to go.
Yeah, there was nobody else in there. There's nobody else in that situation that had cash or any other investor, but we were fighting against the family. The family had offered him 205. He said, well, if I can get 210 from you, I would sell it to you. And I go, I don't know, man. Like, I think you should just sell it to them. But I'll let you know. I'll have Cameron call you. So I called Tino, and I told him, just have Cameron lock it up at 205, close next week, and let's get this bad boy done. So what's the ARV on that deal?
It's 300. Some people are saying, whoa, 300K ARV on a mobile. It's on an acre and a quarter. So it's a large lot, guys. It's a very large lot. It's not just the mobile home. So I left the small detail out, but yes, 300K for the ARV.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous lot. It's an acre, new RAC. Anyway, so that property, Cody, why don't you pull the fix and flip breakdown real quick, and let's just run through that. What if we buy it at 205? What are we're going to assign it to ourselves, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Let's go through that and talk about that, and I'll answer some questions in the side chat real fast, okay?
All right.
Jeremy Davis says he's here for the underwriting Zoom. That was yesterday, bro. I'm so sorry. So VAs outperform door knockers. Yes, VAs outperform door knockers. VAs outperform everybody, to be honest. Yeah, they are. Kelly is like all about goal planning too. So Kelly, let me show something to you. And this is why I'm having a challenge with the goal planning. Okay. So if I'm going to do goal planning, you're going to want me to do, what's that, Cody?
Okay. What do you think the renovation budget is on that?
15 grand.
15 grand.
So Kelly, watch me do this. Okay. So you're going to want me to do a screen share, right? So I'm on a podcast and I'm showing everybody my screen share. So if I'm going to go through this, you would think that I could write on this myself and I could like fill it out. I can't. Okay. So while I'm on my screen and I'm performing and I'm, trying to answer questions for everybody, we've got to make it easy for me to be able to jump on the goal planning session and actually fill it out. So now I don't have an application to fill it out. I could go through and download a few things, but that needs to be put in a format that I can just start typing on it from my computer where I don't have to go through and mess around with it. And that's one of the reasons actually a couple of weeks ago when we were doing goal planning session, I pulled it up and I was like, oh, dang. Okay. So I'm going to go through it. I'd love to go through it, but I can't edit it. And I want to fill out my goals and I want to talk about our action steps so other people can go through it as well. That's a challenge. So whenever we do something like this, let's just put a note into the media team that we need to make sure that whatever thing that we're downloading, somebody can edit it, right?
Needs to be the Acrobat feature.
Right. So I'm on a computer that I stream with, and I'm not really that interested in having to download a bunch of stuff to do it. This is my streaming computer. I just want it very simple. But hold on a second. Let's do a little something here. So let's do this. Yeah, Caroline, I would love to do that. But my iPad is not set up because I just did a Zoom. So Kelly, going forward, we need to make sure that anytime we do a document, it can be edited. Okay. Let's make it that way. Let's do it that way in the future. Okay. So, I'm
off of the Rainbow Road calculator and I'm going.
Yeah, pull it up. Screen share that for a minute.
All right, 1 sec. Can you see the screen?
Yeah, I can see it. Looks great.
So what we're looking at is, you'll notice I'm 5,000 under what the other comp was. So assuming, 295, 300-ish was.
Hey, Cody, so you see where it says hotel and assignment?
Yes.
Let's zoom in on only the part where you're working on, because then everybody can see it much larger. So go to like magnification of like 150 or 200 or something like that. And boom, there you go. Now everybody can see it. Perfect.
Dope.
Love
it.
Love it.
So assuming around a 295 exit on the deal is what we're going to be able to get it out at. We have a 4-month hold time. The average days on market for this particular area is about 45 to 60 days. So the renovation really probably won't take longer than a month, wouldn't you say, Pace?
Yeah, I'd say it will take 20 days or so.
So 20 days or so plus, 45, 60 days on the market and then another month for, in escrow with the buyer. So we're estimating around 4 months. We got the deal at, what was it, 205?
Yeah, we got it at 205.
So 205, and then assuming we'll assign it to ourselves around 225. So 20,000 goes to the company. We have our closing costs. Renovation for our repairs, 15,000 is what Pace is seeing for the numbers on reno. Just general like monthly kind of cleanup. The holding costs. So our private money on this particular deal that we have already allocated is at 12%. So we'll have that, fully financed at 12%. So we'll spend about a little over 10 grand on that. Property taxes, insurance, utilities. So it puts our holding at around a little over $11,000. And then we have our selling costs. So I always at least assume for 1% on our closing costs and our concessions that we'll be giving to the buyer. Depending on the area, sometimes a little bit more, but the comps in this particular area, most of the sellers didn't have to give much in concessions. So I'm going on what the general area of that particular area is doing. Listing agent, Pace's wife, Laura, lists everything. We do a flat fee, right about $1,500. And then the buyer's agent, we do 2.5%, which takes our total cost into the deal $266,583, and our profit to about $26,000 on this deal.
Where'd that deal come from, Cody?
This deal came from Podio. Let me go look. I'll go check. I gotta go see what, I think it was a cold caller on our team that brought in this deal. Oh, bad. I think, did we just lose Pace? Oh, there you are. Are you still there, Pace?
Yes, I'm still here.
Okay. Jacob
Smith says, you know what, Jacob Smith, let's talk about that. VAs outperform door knockers. Could you elaborate on this? I think this means VAs who are cold calling and outperform door knockers. Why is it you believe this? Not saying you're wrong, just curious. Jacob, let me ask you a question. Have you ever met an American that's actually consistent on anything? Let me answer that question with a question. Have you ever met an American who's consistent at anything they've ever done in their life? Cody, can you give them a link to that breakdown? I think that'd be cool if you give them like the Google Drive link for them to have that breakdown of the fix and flip. So Jacob, the reason why virtual assistants outperform door knockers is they outperform everything. Our bookkeeper gets outperformed. Our editor, our like YouTube editors get outperformed. Our cold callers get outperformed. Every single person gets outperformed by a virtual assistant. There's not one position in my company that doesn't get outperformed by a virtual assistant. If there's a repetitive task that needs to be done, if there is a repetitive task that needs to be done, then an American should not be doing it. That's my personal opinion. I've gotten older. I've gotten a little bit crankier. I feel like I have to continually tell the Americans to do the same exact thing over and over and over and over again. And then the next day we've got an issue. They're not getting the job done. So, Cody, why don't you explain what a subtail is for Randy for a minute?
Yeah. So Randy, essentially, a subtail is just having built-in financing, right? So just like you would take a subject to transaction, it's just an exit strategy. The tail is just the tail of the exit strategy, really. So when you're doing a subject to, you're taking control of the existing financing, taking the existing financing that was already in place, and then doing the renovation and just reselling it. So it's just essentially it's a fix and flip without having to go get hard money or private money for the financing, for the acquisition of the property. It's already built in place. So that's essentially what a subtail is, just a different exit strategy.
Great question, Randy. Thank you so much. Cody's very loquacious today. So let me jump in here and make sure that we don't have any dead air for a minute. MTP, I wish I knew your real name. You always ask really great questions. And I'm always curious by people that have like these interesting names or that I can't name. I don't know who you are, bro. Like, here's what's funny is I'll go to a speaking engagement and I'll run into somebody and they'll go, man, hey, so good to meet you. I'll go, man, great to meet you too. What's your name? They go, what do you mean? You don't know my name? I make all the comments on YouTube. And I'm like, bro, I don't know what your name is. And then I'm MTPTA. Bro, what's your real name? I would love to know your real name because you have such great questions. Really, really great questions. Okay. So MTP TA says, Pace, I was watching the Cody Hotline and Jerry Norton stream, and Cody said texting will be obsolete in 12 months. What are your thoughts on this subject? Cody Barton, do you have any thoughts on what Cody Hotline's saying?
Yeah, I think it's going to continue to get less effective. I 100% agree. But that's part of being a business owner, is that you have to be able to shift and you need to be able to pivot when things change, right? So as far as texting, it was amazing 2-3 years ago. It's slowly gotten a little bit less effective. So that's something that you have to understand is, yes, hey, it may change. Things may change. That's where, we've really doubled down heavily on our cold calling. And so, that's our primary way of, getting deals now. We're still getting text deals, but cold calling has, really pushed to the front for us to get new deals. And this deal that we got, Pace, that we were just talking about, I just looked back. One of our cold callers on our team, Jane, actually got that deal. And it was a cold call lead that came in. I thought this was a newer lead. I guess it wasn't, but I looked back and that lead came in back in, it looks like, September 17th is when that lead came in. And Cameron's been following up since then.
Love it. All right, guys. So Kelly Hanno is the ultimate boss. So we're going to go through and do a little goal planning. Everybody came here for this, so let's jump into it. Good job, Kelly. Thank you so much. So Cody, let's go through our fix and flip goals. What are our fix and flip goals for this coming year?
Yeah, I mean, as far as our fix and flip, kind of our rotating inventory is to be around 24 properties at a time. Like we were talking about, what was that, about a week ago? And the 4-4-4-4. Do you want to explain that, that logic and the thought process when it comes to that, to be able to have the amount of inventory closing on a monthly basis, on what that looks like?
Yeah. So whenever you're doing fix and flips, guys, you always have properties that are in active acquisition. So what does active acquisition mean? It means that I haven't purchased a property yet. It means that it's pending, right? I'm working on buying that property. I've committed to it. I've had the conversation with the wholesaler or whoever it is and said, hey, I want to buy this property, but obviously we've got to go close escrow on this thing, right? So let's go through that. Our goal is to have 24 properties at a time. Acquisitions pending, meaning about to purchase. Our goal is to always have 8 in process. Okay, then we want to have active renovation, which means that you have properties actually getting demo all the way through, just about to get listed. So let's say active and not listed yet, but we own these. And the goal is to have 8 in process as well. Okay, then you're going to have you're going to have properties on the market. So you're going to have active listed. Okay. And again, the goal is to have active on the MLS. Who lists our property is Laura Morby. My wife lists our property. And we want to have 8 in process there as well. Okay. So that's 24 total. This is a goal. So Cody, what would it take? What action steps are we currently working on in order to get there?
Yeah. So one of the main action items is tracking our flow, right? So on a weekly basis, we're having a meeting with Nick Newling in the JV department. And then also we're having a weekly meeting with Jeff, as he's the asset manager, pushing these projects forward. So during that process, what's happening is Jeff is making sure to keep an eye on what our pipeline's looking like and to be filling in. So he's basically trying to pull in opportunities and, get after Nick as he works in the JV department to get fix and flips from other wholesalers. So it helps us continue that pipeline, because obviously we flip a lot of our own inventory, pretty much anything in our own inventory that makes sense to flip, we're flipping. But Jeff's job is to make sure that, we're getting enough deals also from the JV department to continue flipping as well. So that's one of the main action items is, tracking, really just keeping track of what our pipeline's looking like on a consistent basis, to be able to know, hey, we need to step it up. We need 2 more properties this week, or, hey, our pipeline's pretty full. Let's start getting something in the pipeline for this upcoming week because we have one closing, and just kind of forecasting what our pipeline's looking like.
Got it. Okay. So why don't we, and then also, so let's say we've got weekly meeting with Jeff.
Yep.
Another one would be raise more private capital.
Yep. 100%.
Okay. So that's a big thing, is that when we're raising private capital, it limits your ability to grow. Right. So if you don't have money, you can't buy deals. And if you don't buy deals, then you're not fixing and flipping. So weekly meetings with Jeff. I think honestly, getting our team to understand their jobs better. And Cody, will you jump on that real quick? What does that mean? Like getting people to understand their job?
Yeah. So essentially when we're talking about getting our team to understand their jobs better, something that we've, really harped on and started implementing even more is, having laid out, because we didn't really, focus on this heavily, is actually laid out job descriptions. Like most of our team has training that we have through our trainual system, but for some of the positions where they've been newer positions that have just been put into place, we didn't have laid out specific job descriptions so that the team can actually understand when they're succeeding and when they are not succeeding, and when there's adjustments that need to be made. And so by, putting those job descriptions in place, like for, a Jeff on our team, our asset manager, it's putting that in place so that he understands that the success and failure of the fix and flip pipeline is 100% his responsibility. Obviously, where he has myself and Pace as resources to, help support him, his job is to make sure that that pipeline is full. So that's a big part of just helping the team gain clarity is, we've been implementing, more with the job descriptions. What do we got next? Caroline says systems.
Yeah. I mean, we have these conversations with our team. How do you raise private capital? That's a whole conversation by itself. Should we do all about raising private capital next week? I'd be happy to do that. That'd be a great topic to maybe talk about. But getting our team to better understand their job is not simply one conversation. What I learn is like, there's very few people I can tell that here's your job, go do it. One time. I'd say Kelly Hanna is really close to one of those people. I'm one of those people you can tell me to do something one time and I never have to understand the who, what, why, where, what. I get it. If somebody tells me, hey, go down to Sprouts to go pick up groceries versus Bash's', I actually know why they're telling me to go to Sprouts. They want a different level of ingredient. I just know that, right? Nobody has to sit down and do a one-on-one Zoom with me to provide clarity to me about why I'm going to Sprouts. Okay. It's the same thing with hiring employees. They need to be told every little granular detail about their job position, or else they will fail, because they will do what they think you want rather than what you actually want. So you have to sit down. I mean, this is something I would say that we did horribly in 2020.
Yes.
Horribly in 2020. Meaning we would tell people to do something, then 2 weeks later, it wasn't getting done. And we'd say, why isn't this being done? And they'd say, oh, you're right. I need to get better. You have to have an accountability call with every single employee in your organization every single week. Okay. Yeah, I don't tell Kelly anything twice. Sometimes I have to provide a little bit more clarity to Kelly, just because the topic might be something that requires a phone call rather than like a Slack conversation. But I'm giving you a compliment, Kelly. You're one of the very few people. Caroline's also one of those people that you tell them something one time, but 99% of people that we've ever hired, that's not how it is. Okay. It is incredibly challenging to just say, go do this, right? How awesome would it be if you could tell people how to be a good salesperson one time, or tell people, hey, go do your, no, you know what? Honestly, we don't follow level 10 meetings. I feel, Cameron, to be honest with you, I feel like level 10 meetings are trash. And the reason being is it's too much. It's too many conversations. It's more work than it actually needs to be. You need to be able to get in and get out. You need to give people action items for the week. I had a conversation with some other high-level business owners today, where they talked about their level 10 meetings used to go an hour and a half. That's what they're supposed to be, but they would actually go 2.5 hours. Okay. And then what would happen is there was just too much information. What it needs to be are, what were the action items from last week? What are the things that we need to improve on this week? And when can they be done? Like, it needs to be very simple. You need to be able to have a 45-minute meeting or less. And the problem with level 10 is that, dude, it is. Remember when we tried to do level 10, Cody? It's like an hour and a half.
It's too long. It's just way too long.
Right. So Cody, why don't you talk about our meetings with our VAs?
Yeah. So we do have our virtual assistants included in those meetings, and Matt Beard, our partner on the wholesale business. For those of you that don't know, we just recently merged our wholesale business together with Matt Beard, and it's been a fun ride already, just getting started in the new year. So Matt Beard is the one that runs these, and he does such an excellent job with it. It's been, we've been really blessed, having, him working with us and running those meetings. But yeah, so Matt does a meeting with the virtual assistants daily, right? So, just as if they were, Americans on our team here in the US, the Filipinos on our team, they hop on for the cold, the openers, the cold callers, they have a call every morning at 9:30. The lead managers, they have a call every morning at 10 o'clock, right? So they're getting their day started. They're the stand-up meetings. They happen every day. So they're a part of your team. So I would definitely recommend, for those of you that don't include your virtual assistants in your stand-up meetings, you are sleeping on a lot of growth and opportunity, because you got to invest in them just like you'd invest in anyone else on your team. The more you invest in them, the more they're going to do a better job within your business as well.
Yeah, it's so again, there's a daily huddle that happens. Matt Beard runs a daily huddle with our VAs at 9:30 in the morning. That's with our cold callers, right? Our cold callers are at 9:30. Yep. Then Matt gets them on the phone. And then at 10 o'clock, he then gets on a huddle with who? How does that transition from 9:30 to 10 o'clock?
The lead managers.
What's a lead manager?
So the lead manager's job is to, from when the opener, also known as cold caller, pushes a lead into our CRM within Podio, the lead manager's role is to then follow up on that lead. And basically their job is just to warm up the lead. Identify when they're at a position when they're ready to sell, because a lot of the leads that are going to come in, they're not going to be ready the day they come in as a lead. So the lead manager, their job is to constantly be, planting seeds and, tending to the fields. And then as soon as something is ripe, something is ready to go, they're going to call the acquisition manager, quote unquote. They're going to let the acquisition manager, take over from that point and, pull out the ripe fruit, so that's their job, is to basically just tee up opportunities for the acquisition team to, once somebody is ready to sell, to get the acquisition manager to get them to sell to us.
Love that. So I see a couple questions popping up multiple times. Let's jump into some Q&A. Ballers says, what's the best way to wholesale a creative deal? Is it always to do an assignment, or is there a more creative way? Well, the question is the answer. You asked me what's the best way to wholesale a creative deal? The answer is to do an assignment. I know that there are other ways to do that, but you're going to stay involved, right? So you could get involved and you could sell it on a wrap. You could then own it and sell it on a lease option. But you asked, how do I wholesale it? The best way to wholesale a creative finance deal is to assign the deal and be done with it. That's it. It's very simple. Upper V Soccer says, for lead lists, vacants, and follow-up, SMS and RVM, batch driven or batch leads, or do I need both? Thoughts? Cody.
So my answer is going to be based on what are you doing with that information. If you are going to be cold calling the data and you're going to be sending out lots, massive amounts, thousands of text messages a day, I would say batch leads. If you're just going to be doing one-off text messaging, one-off calling to the individuals on that list, I would use batch driven all day. So you got to ask yourself, what are you using that data for? If it's mass quantities, batch leads. If it's smaller amounts, batch driven.
Love that. Jeremy Davis says, obviously a seller wants an offer ASAP. Does your lead manager give that offer and nurture from that point?
Ooh, I like that question. Jeremy, great question. So basically what's going to happen is if the seller is ready to go, at that point, they're going to pull an offer from the seller. So what their goal is to identify what the asking price is going to be from the seller. So say the seller is like, yeah, I want 200,000. What the lead manager is more so going to do is see if they're ready to sell. Because if they're, the lead manager is going to say, okay, well, if I was able to get the team to come up to that number, what would happen next? To identify if the seller is truly ready to sell. If they say, yeah, or, maybe, or if they're close to really being ready to go at making a decision, it's going to get pushed to the acquisition team. And that's where they're going to tee him up for, okay, I'm going to have Tino on our team, reach out to you. He's the one that's going to be able to, put something together and, see if we can come up to that number. So basically just tease it up for the next call if they're ready to sell. But the lead managers aren't giving offers. We don't give offers. That's one of the things that people always are like, how many offers do you make to get a deal? We don't give offers out. We make the sellers give us a number and we try to come up to the number and see if we can get to that or not. Here's a good question, Pace. So Aaron Leitz is asking, what steps do you take when you have a seller under contract and now they want to back out?
Aaron, do you want to know the real answer? Because I'll give you the real answer. Aaron had a seller recently. So Aaron got his first sub 2 deal done. It's a VA loan. Okay. Mm-hmm. What happened is along the way, somehow the seller changed their mind, whatever, could be most of the time. The reason the seller changes their mind is because they got a higher offer from another wholesaler or somebody came along right after you that offered them more money. Mm-hmm. I'd say that's 99% of it. Every once in a while, you'll get a seller that says straight up like, well, I really don't want to sell anymore and I want to stay in the property. It's pretty simple. Okay. What we've experienced is that I know that if I have a property under contract, there's no way that seller has any way to get out of that contract unless I breach. So if I were you, Aaron, this is something that Cody and I do is we spend the money. We go after the seller. I've always gone after a seller. If a seller tries to cancel, we have always gone after the seller, always. So what do? What's that process look like? We write an email to Danielle Graham, our attorney. We say, hey, Danielle, we would like to have a conversation with you regarding a possible litigation with this seller. What will you please take a look at my contract and tell me if there's anything I'm missing? Did I do anything wrong before I move down that road? And then what I would do is I would file what is called a lis pendens. Okay. Lis pendens. You guys can Google it. Lis pendens means pending lawsuit. It means I'm filing something against the property, showing the seller, hey, we're going to be filing a lawsuit on your property because you failed to execute your end of the bargain. Okay. So I then get in there and I sue them. Have I ever gone to court? No, we never have gone to court. We always go through mediation, or we end up going through a period where the seller's mad at me. And I just simply, I don't even remind them. I have my attorney remind them. I have Danielle Graham have a conversation with them and just say, hey, I'm sorry, I'm representing Pace and Cody in this matter going forward. If you have a problem with me communicating with you directly, please let us know who your legal counsel is. And then our attorney will actually start communicating with their legal counsel. Aaron, I've had probably 5 or 6 sellers try and cancel on me. And I've never had a seller actually cancel on me and get away with it. We always go after the seller. We signed a contract. And the first time I did, I was really scared, to be honest. I was really scared to do it because I thought, well, I don't know what this venture looks like. I don't know what it feels like to sue somebody. I don't know what the outcome's going to be. Oh my gosh, it's going to cost money. But then I realized this is what business is. It's spending money and learning lessons and, pressing the risk button every once in a while. And so the first lawsuit that I ever went forward with was with Danielle Graham. It cost me $7,500. And the seller, I was going to make $25,000 on that property. And after a year of going back and forth, I ended up making $125,000 on that property. See, and this is I could actually have Danielle Graham come on as a wholesale hotline guest. Actually, it would not be a bad idea. Did MTPTA actually say their real name today? I would love to know his real name. Is this attorney on retainer or paid by a case-by-case basis? So that's a great question. It's the number one reason. I know where that question's coming from. It's coming from a fear of spending money, right? I've had the same fear. Oh my gosh, I don't want to go after the seller. It's probably less expensive for me to just walk away and go get another deal. But the reality is, once you understand, I'll give you her contact information, Aaron. You're one of my sub 2 students. I'll give you Danielle Graham's information right now. It's great. I've won every lawsuit I've ever opened with her. And I'm giving you a screenshot of Danielle Graham's information right now, Aaron, and I'm texting it to your personal cell phone. I think you have an Android, so I hope you can receive an image on your Android. I'm not saying that in jest. I just deal with a lot of people with Androids and they can't get images for some reason. So people are afraid to spend money. They're afraid to learn things. They're afraid to go through the process, right? And that's what I did. I just was kind of sick of that feeling. Instead of me saying, I don't know what this feels like. I don't know how much it costs. I don't know what the process looks like. Nobody was willing. There was no Sunday service. There was no podcast that people actually gave real information on. It was just a bunch of bullshit. And in fact, most of the real estate podcasts that I listen to, it's good information, but they don't really get into the nitty gritty stuff. Okay. And I never had anybody walk through. I actually don't know many real estate investors who have actually sued sellers. Most real estate investors are wholesalers that I originally was talking to, and they're flaky, broke pieces of shit that don't have the ability to go and actually hire an attorney. So what their advice to me is walk away, just go get another deal. And while I do believe in going and getting another deal, I also believe in protecting your business. And if you spent money on advertising and time and you negotiated a contract with the seller, that seller is legally obligated to follow through with that contract. It doesn't matter if it's seller finance, creative finance, novation agreement, cash deal. It does not matter. Okay. So I would call Danielle Graham, who I just gave you her information to your private text, And I would reach out to her tomorrow and just say, I have a seller. Would you mind looking at my contract and let me know if I have a legal standing? Okay. There's the answer. Dion Hardaway. I got a house coming up for auction on Thursday. What's the best option to possibly get that pushed back? So something really interesting, Dion. Last Monday, we had Rochelle Jarvis come on Wholesale Hotline, and we talked about the process of extending a foreclosure that is coming up on auction. So I highly suggest going back and listening to that. It's really good. And then also reaching out to Rochelle Jarvis. She can help you with that. Her website is constantclose.com. Somebody's going to ask me how to spell that. Constantclose.com. So go to constantclose.com, reach out to Rochelle. She can help you with stuff like that. Joey Vigil. On that topic of assignment on creative deal, I locked up a seller finance and assigned a contract to an end buyer. But when seller was signing closing docs, she's seen a name she didn't recognize and backed out. What's the best way to avoid this? So Joey, I teach my students in sub 2 how to have the conversation with the seller and the buyer. You can't just assign a sub 2 or a seller finance without letting people know what you're doing. Okay. You need to be educated on the conversation. The seller needs to know, especially on a seller finance.
Yes.
Like they need to know who's receiving, who the payments are coming from.
Yes.
Right. So Joey, you screwed up on that because you didn't let the seller know up front. So what I would do is I would reach out to you. I would reach out to one of my sub 2 students, Joey, and say, how does Pace teach you guys how to have that conversation? Okay. Sam Stevens, Pace, I just joined the sub 2 mentorship this week and it is incredible. Wanted to shout out for Aaron Leitz for providing incredible value at the AZ squad meetup today. Aaron is amazing. And now he has my personal attorney's information. So reach out to him. Make the seller file for bankruptcy. No. You never want to make a seller file for bankruptcy. That is a problem.
You don't want to be providing legal advice for sure, especially in that situation.
So Randy says, can I buy with a wrap or am I leaving money on the table? We've bought with wraps, but yes, you are leaving money on the table. The question you got to ask yourself, Randy, is does the deal still work? Okay. So what is Randy actually asking, guys? When a seller sells to you on a wrap rather than a seller finance or rather than a sub 2, what they're actually indicating is that the seller is taking their sub 2, or let's say they're taking their mortgage or they're taking, their paid off free and clear home. And it's not going to be a free and clear home. See, dude, this is the problem with I'm going to pull this up so everybody in the world can see why Android sucks so bad. I don't understand why this is so, it's so amazing to me that I have to go through this whole process. Check this out. Can you see this?
Yes.
Not delivered. This is why, Aaron, this is why people with Androids need to switch over to a freaking iPhone. I can't send you guys photos. This is a screenshot. It's amazing to me. Why is this why do Androids reject these photos? It's like a low grade screenshot. It's not even high quality. Anyway, that's one of the reasons why I don't like Androids. It has nothing to do with anything else other than just the easinesses. Okay. Is there a problem with a sub 2 on a Mr. Cooper loan? No, there's no problem on a sub 2 deal on a Mr. Cooper loan, Bradley, at all. Okay.
We have one.
Which one? Do you know which house it is?
Colorado Street.
Oh, Colorado. Awesome. And we actually bought that on a hybrid deal. So love that. Check it out. This is actually, I invented Clubhouse just to force everybody to go get iPhones.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So here's a couple of questions. I bring up the word wrap and it just absolutely melts people's brains. So let's go into this question here. Can I buy on a wrap? So Randy, if you're buying on a wrap, what does that mean? That means that the seller is taking their sub 2 loan at 3.5%, and they're adding their equity on top of it, and they're charging you. They're wrapping the whole thing together, and they're charging 6% or 5%. So they're actually making money on the sub 2 loan on the existing loan and selling it to you at a higher interest rate. That would be them selling it to you on a wrap. Okay. I teach students to buy it on a hybrid where I keep the two separate, where I buy the house I take over the mortgage. We just bought one, actually. What was the deal we just took over where the seller financed their equity to us?
Roanoke.
Let's talk about that. Can you pull up numbers on that at all?
I don't have the numbers organized. Jeff has.
So basically the seller sold their home to us subject to, there's an existing mortgage in place. The seller has equity that he's also financing to us. Okay. What a wrap is if a seller has their subject to loan, let's say for $100,000 at 3% interest, they then sell the house to us for $150,000 at 5% interest, or 6% interest, or 7% interest, whatever the interest is. So essentially what they're doing is they're taking their $100,000 loan at 3% and they're adding 50 grand on top of it in their own equity. And then they're wrapping it with one interest rate on top of that, which is 5%. So now they're selling their sub 2 loan to us at 2% higher than what they have it at. So yes, you are leaving money on the table, but the question is, are you still cash flowing? For us, I teach my students to purchase on what I call a hybrid, where we keep those two completely separate. So we take over the subject to at a 3%, $100,000. And then we have the seller finance their seller finance to us at 5%. So we're still paying the 3% on the underlying. We bought it for the same dollar amount, but I'm not paying interest on top of his already existing interest for the sub 2 loan. Okay. So Randy, yes, if it still makes sense, then it's okay to buy it. How close to ARV do you offer to seller on sub 2 or seller finance? It depends on the deal, but I would say that we're probably at 90%. 90% of the time we're at 90% ARV. And then sometimes we're right on ARV. Sometimes we're at 75% of ARV. We've got a lot of really good sub 2 and creative finance deals.
The Roanoke one, like we bought that one. We just closed on that one on Friday, guys. And that one, it's worth about 230, 235, and we bought it at 210. So not significant, massive discount, but still a little bit under market value and not a bad deal.
Yeah. So that one actually, if anybody was following my Instagram story from this morning, anybody that is following my Instagram story this morning, I actually was talking about proof of us buying subject to deals without our own credit, without our own cash. And I told you guys to swipe up to get a copy of the settlement statement. That's Roanoke. We just closed escrow on it a couple of days ago. I gave you guys the settlement statement. You can go in there and see that Cody and I actually buy homes with none of our own credit, none of our own cash. And that property, you can pull up the address, Mike, and comp it yourself and see that we paid a little bit under ARV. But Mike, here's the thing. You need to understand that if you're buying properties, I don't care what anybody says. I don't care if they've been teaching creative finance for 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. Equity is not where you make your money. Okay. Equity is where you make your wealth, but you can't pay your bills. Like you can't pay a bill with equity. Okay. You can't just say, okay, wow, I've got all this equity in this property, so I'm going to go pay bills. No, you can't do that. You have to sell the property or you have to refinance it, which we're against refinancing. So the main thing that you buy a property for is cash flow. Stop thinking about the equity. Stop thinking about the ARV. The ARV is like the cherry on top. Okay. Roanoke is the street name, Jordan Cook. It's not the city of in Virginia. Okay. Zach Wolf mentioned ask for 0% terms. Shout out to Zach, but how do you bring up without offending? He is savvy. So Mark Ingrid Hernandez, have you watched the seller calls where I bring up 0% terms to sellers like dozens and dozens of times? That's probably where I would go to watch that. Horacio, are you guys doing lease options in Texas? If so, can you recommend to get with who so they can help? So Horacio, I'm actually flying into Houston on January 16th. So in 6 days, I'm going to be in Houston, and I'm doing a lease option class with my students in Houston and Scott Horn. So Scott Horn is going to be coming down to Houston to teach the sub 2 students in a private lease option class. The answer is yes, you can do lease options. And then on January, this is actually kind of cool, Cody. Ooh, I should share, guys. I should share this with you guys. This is really, really good.
What is it? You're building all this suspense.
So I've got Brian Tripp reaches out to me and he says, "Hey, I see you talk a lot of shit about the burst strategy. And I would love to put like a battle royale together with like multiple burst strategy people and then you and 3 highly respected creative finance investors." And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to be part of that immediately. So on January 14th, ooh, this is great. It's a Zoom webinar. Check it out. I'm going to put it in the side chat so you guys can see it because everybody's going to say what day, what time. Okay. So it says you are invited to a Zoom webinar. Date, January 14th, 7 p.m. Central Time. So 5 p.m. Arizona time. Creative finance, which creative finance strategy is the most effective in our current economic landscape? So he kind of killed it down a little bit, but it's 3 creative finance guys and 3 non-creative finance guys. Okay. So Lou Brown, 40-year veteran of real estate industry, has literally written the book on subject to. He and I are going to be battling 2 burst strategy people. And then there are going to be a couple of lease option people. This is why I deterred over to this. John Jackson's one of them. And John Jackson, here's what John Jackson's introduction is. Okay. Let's actually, I'll pull this up. You guys can just look at it. How about that? Might as well, right? Let's pull it up. So REI Live, here we go. This is on Friday. I'm sorry, this is this coming week. So Pace Morby, and we're going to have John Jackson right here. John Jackson, a lease options pioneer whose creative financing prowess is so exhaustive that he is regularly consulted by attorneys and judges in his own home state of Texas. So I'm actually in a mastermind with John Jackson. And so we will be, I like Brandon Turner, but I just don't feel like burst strategy is a beginner strategy. And I feel like he does attract a larger market of people who are in the traditional world. I respect Brandon, especially for what he's done. He's epic. And he continues to grow. So I'm very impressed by what they've done. But at the end of the day, the burst strategy is not a beginner strategy. You have to have credit. You have to have cash. You have to have job history. You have to have a W-2. And anybody that says that you don't is full of it. They're not doing burst strategies. Okay. So anyway, that's going to be a good one. That's on Thursday night. I'll give you guys a link in the Creative Finance Facebook page. That's going to be fun. It's going to be all of the main creative finance people in the country. People have been doing it for 40 years, and myself are going to be battling people that are doing lease options, etc. Okay, so Zach Shelley, awesome. Yeah, man, I get to see Zach Shelley. I actually just bought a deal from Zach Shelley in DFW. It's going to turn it into an Airbnb. Cody and I have a goal to buy a lot of properties together this year, but I have a goal to buy 12 Airbnbs myself. So if you guys have Airbnbs or any sub 2 or seller finance deals in Atlanta, Dallas, or Nevada, I am a buyer in those areas. And anyway, so which sub 2 students are coming to Houston on Saturday? Which sub 2 students are coming to Houston on Saturday? We're going to be talking about lease options in Texas. And then also let's talk about next week's topic. Let's start doing, this is what I want to do, because what happens on these Sunday services is that I know we've been talking about doing a goal planning session for like the last 3 or 4 weeks, and I really apologize. Let me tell you why we haven't done it. Couple of reasons why. Number one, 2 weeks ago, Cody's Wi-Fi was so bad that I had to just kick him off. It was so bad. It was like he was a freaking, it looked like he was using the burst strategy because he was just frozen. He was left out in the cold. So I told Cody, I said, hey man, I'm just going to kick you off. So at that point we couldn't do it. Then last week we wanted to do the goal planning session, but the PDF that I was using ultimately wasn't editable. And when I'm doing a live stream, it's really challenging. You got to keep things moving. You got to keep talking. You don't want to lose people's interest. You want to pack as much information in there as possible. So last week I saw the opportunity to have Matt Beard come on board, and I switched the conversation from, goal planning to virtual assistants, because I wanted to deliver a lot of value to you guys. And I didn't want to be deliberating over this document for a long time. And then, today, kind of the same thing, just the whole document thing. So what I want to do is I want to start having a topic going forward on Sunday service. And I want to vote of what you guys want us to focus the topic on, because what'll happen is these Sunday services can go through and answer 50, 60, 70 questions, but not deep dive on them. And I really want to deep dive on some of these questions for you guys, because we really want to grow this. Okay. Sunday service was really, really good. In fact, you know what happened, Kelly, is Matt Beard called Cody and I, and he said that VA Hub is like going to start turning away clients because we had so many clients come on board. Everybody loved it so much. Randy, the way you get these hats is you have to be a sub-2 student. We don't sell them. I could easily sell these hats, but we don't sell them. You have to be a sub-2 student. Okay. VA Hub was like, wow, we are overbooked. We probably this week or next week are going to stop taking clients for about 30 days or so. So guys, if you guys want to reach out to Matt Beard before he closes up new client onboarding, I would reach out to Matt. Cody, will you throw Matt's email in the side chat real quick, just in case people need it? Oh, his inbox was insane. He said he got like 480 emails last week.
Yeah.
And VA Hub ended up getting like 300 requests because so many people are sick of the way that they've been doing it the other way. Okay, so guys, let's talk about some topics. Let's throw some topics out. Do you guys want us to deep dive on wraps? Do you guys want us to deep dive on subject twos? Do you guys want us to deep dive on raising private capital? Do you guys want us to bring in a special guest? What do you guys feel like you really need from a creative finance standpoint? It doesn't seem like people really care when we break our own deals down. I thought about maybe streaming live and doing like whiteboard stuff. But what do you guys feel like you would want? And while I wait for you guys to fill up the chat with things that you would like to see, I'm going to answer a couple of questions. Alex, acquiring 5+ wholesale deals per week, direct to seller in Dallas. How can we implement the same volume in sub-2 and collab, leaving money on the table, paying for these leads, but not converting with wholesale offer to seller? So Alex, I would reach out to Jimmy Au or Zach Shelley in DFW. I just bought a deal from Zach. Zach is one of my really, really good students in the DFW area. Zach, connect with Alex Cifelli. Sounds like she's not a sub-2 student, so she's going to be missing out on that. So either A, you join the mentorship and we teach you everything, or B, work with one of our students and let our student team up with you and make some money on it. That's the way you do it. Okay. If you're not in a position where you want to join the mentorship, then work with one of the students. No big deal. Okay. So sub-2 deep dive, please. That's really interesting, Liz. What do you mean by that? Let's talk about that. Give me more info, like deep dive on sub-2. What does that mean? What part of it do you not understand? Is it, have you had success with mailers to people in foreclosure? Any techniques you can share? Yeah, don't do mailers. That's the technique. Don't do mailers. Do active investing. People who are doing mailers they basically want to do like a passive version of investing. Are you passive or are you active? Okay. All right, let's see. Spanish-speaking VAs, especially in Arizona. Awesome. Everything is the foreclosure moratorium active. Yes, foreclosure moratorium is still active. No, you can go after foreclosures. You're just not telling them you're going after foreclosures. Omar. Okay. Okay, so Liz, perfect. There we go. That's a greater conversation. I like that. I like that. Jeremy Davis has a really good question there. While still staying in the goal planning mentality, I would love to hear how you guys saw your future before you were a company and how you began to scale. I like that a lot. Liz, this is a really great topic. I like this. This is going to be next week's subject to. So Kelly Hanno, this is what I want everything to be based on next week. And we're only going to talk about this for an hour and a half. So people, when they come in and they ask me questions about a wrap or this or that, we are going to focus on this one topic. Okay. Liz says, I need to know how to get sellers to understand what subject to process is. Okay, great. So Liz, I don't like jumping topics, Cody. I actually hate jumping topics. What happens is I just want to make sure that everybody's entertained. And if you have 4 seconds of dead air, you lose audience. So I am just the master of continually talking. That's essentially what it is. Okay. Here's what we're going to do. The next 2 weeks of Sunday service, we are going to have 2 topics. Number one, Number one, Kelly Hanno. Let's create a thumbnail for this and let's start talking about it. We are going to talk about helping a seller understand the process of subject to. That is next week's topic. Liz, I want you to be an opening guest. I want you to actually have a conversation with us at the beginning. So reach out to Kelly Hanno and we're going to give you a link to the show. We're going to give you the first 20 minutes and we're going to have you have your questions ready. And we're going to go through and have you on the screen with us for the first 20 minutes of the show. Okay. So Liz, next Sunday, the topic is getting sellers to understand the process of subject to. Okay. So Aaron, this is something right here that we do in our mastermind. So Cody and I really do a deep dive on this, and it's really interesting. We really do it for people that are only ready for this. Aaron says, I was going to say planning, designating, scaling, and building your business step by step. Yeah, we do that in our mastermind. That's actually what we focus on. Randy, overcoming objections from seller. That would be really good. Be happy to do that. In 2020, I did hundreds of phone calls for my students, and we recorded all of those phone calls. And actually, Kelly Hanno ended up putting them into like a mini module all about objections. And that is a bonus module for all the sub 2 students. We spent hundreds and hundreds of hours on that. So that's a great topic. Happy to talk about that. So Liz, reach out to Kelly Hanno. I want you to be a guest on the show next week. We're going to talk about how to get a seller to understand the process of subject to. Then this is what I want. Who's curious? I want to see a yes in the comments. Who is curious about raising private capital? Okay. Who is curious about raising private capital? Okay, cool. So Kelly, here's what I want you to do. I want you to get a few people who have questions about raising private capital. Let's get Mark Wright. I love Mark Wright. He's out of Vegas. Let's get Mark Wright. He shows up in Facebook. But let's get Mark Wright. He's one of the sub 2 students. Let's get, in fact, I want to get Baller Z because I have actually no clue what their name is. It is so amazing to me that people still name themselves something that I can't. Like, guys, I gotta know your name. JB3, same thing. How do I know your name? Guys, please help me. Please, please, please help me. I would love to know your names. I want to know the community. I want to know who you guys are. Okay, so let's do this. Next week, I want Mark, not next week, but in 2 weeks, I want Mark from the sub 2 mentorship and Jacob Smith. Okay. And Baller Z. So Mark, Baller Z, and Jacob Smith, I want you to be a guest on not this coming Sunday's show, but the following Sunday's show where we talk all about raising private capital. AI entrepreneur, novation agreements are recorded. Yes. So guys, if you want us to stay on topic, here's what I want you guys to do. So JB3, let me kind of scold you a little bit. Okay, I'm feeling spicy right now. If you're a sub-2 student and you have access to me and the whole entire power of the mentorship, you should have your real name as your moniker on YouTube or Facebook. You want other people that are not part of the mentorship to be able to reach out to you and work with you. Do not use some fake name when you're on social media, because then you can't squat up with people. People aren't waking up in the morning and saying, I have a question about creative finance. I better reach out to JB3. Okay. That's not how it works. I'm sorry for to scold you, but you want to make money in this business, brand yourself. Let people know who you are. Okay. He's not a robot. Okay. So if you guys want us to continually stay on topic, here's what I want you guys to do. I want you guys to go into the Creative Finance with Pace Morby Facebook group, and I want you guys to talk about the topic that you want us to see. And Kelly's going to be monitoring that. Okay. So go into the Creative Finance with Pace Morby Facebook group and say this. Say, I would like to see this topic blank on a future episode of Sunday Service. And Kelly is going to start counting up the topics, and we're going to start compiling the next month, 2 months, and even 3 months of topics going into Sunday Service. Okay. Christian Hernandez, we'd love to talk to you about doing more fix and flip stuff. I'm happy to do that. Omar, I think it's a great topic. Everyone needs to know how to raise capital if you're going to invest. What's up, Pace and Cody? What up, bro? So guys, we're going to wrap up Sunday Service. Going forward, we are only going to have one topic we focus on the entire show. And going forward, I need to do a better job of not answering questions that are not on topic. But guess what? If we don't have a topic, that's my fault. So next week, what is the topic, everybody? It is how to get sellers to understand the process of subject to. The following Sunday Service is going to be based on raising private capital. Okay. Tons of students in Austin, Texas. Alec? You mean Dave Day, Alex? You're talking about Dave Day, not Ryan Day? So, guys, without going any further, that's what we're going to talk about next week. We're going to talk about how to get the sellers to understand the sub-2 process. And then going into the following week, it's going to be all about raising capital. And then week 3, 4, and 5 coming up, the next 3 weeks after those two, Kelly Hanno is going to choose those topics based on the public Facebook group. Okay. Jeremy Davis, that's a really great suggestion. I will bring that up to Kelly Hanno. She'll work on that. Okay. Guys, we appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys. Have an awesome night. Cody, you got anything to say?
I think just in closing, a lot of the viewers that weren't on at the beginning, we are on Spotify and we are on iTunes. So make sure to go and check it out. If you're driving to work, want to listen to past episodes, you can check that out on Spotify and iTunes. And if you're not in the Creative Financing Facebook group with Pace Morby, make sure to search that, get involved in the group, and let's have a great week.
Thanks, guys.